Apparently, Rupert Lowe was on Joe Rogan, episode 2,500, and oh my God, how does he do so many podcasts? Holy shit, man. This is like a podcast every other day. Oh my God. Yes, this is crazy. Would you be mad if China or Russia had the same mentality? Of course, because they're not America. Duh. You retarded? Anyway, let's go down and we'll look at these. Let me go and find a few more of the other posts. I've only seen a handful of them yet. I don't know why it's not showing any of these. I can just go it from here. When's your turn? Why don't you relax?
Where we've got these Islamic settlements which effectively operate, and there are large tracts of the country now where we've got these Islamic settlements which effectively operate almost as a sort of parallel society. I don't know whether it's quite the same here, whether you've got the similar thing with the Somalis in Minnesota.
You do in Dearborn, Michigan. Dearborn, Michigan just had a gigantic Islamic parade where you just see tens of thousands of people holding flags and walking on the street, and it's kind of crazy. It's crazy. And they've also, one of the things that's funny about Dearborn is all the progressives. It's a very liberal place. They're like, welcome, welcome, everyone's welcome for all cultures. And as soon as they got into power, they banned the pride flag. That was the first thing they did.
Well, I'm afraid they
chickens for KFC.
They have quite strong views on that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, that's why Queers for Palestine is always hilarious. Like, and then you see the meme Palestine for queers, and it's throwing people off roofs.
He just says it. Oh my God.
It's like the chap who runs our Green Party is a gay Jew. So I mean, he's
say no more.
Going to have a problem if these guys get anywhere near power, but that doesn't seem to put the progressives off. They still seem to.
But this is what's crazy, is that their society is complete, like Islamic society is completely patriarchal. The women are absolutely second-class citizens. Yes. They have completely different laws for how the women can dress, what happens to the woman if someone has sex with, if someone has. First of all, if they commit adultery, they can be killed,
like, stoned to death.
Yeah, and
with the rocks.
I watched a horrible video where a father did it to his daughter.
Yes, well, you do get these killings,
honor killings, yeah, or brothers. The brother will kill the daughter if the daughter shamed the family. It's like,
naturally,
hey guys, how are you progressive? When you're supporting this? And it's because the concept of not being racist, not being called racist, the fear of that is so strong. They're willing to adopt all sorts of things that are the complete antithesis of everything they believe in.
Thank God everybody is saying it now. Everybody is saying it. That is exactly fucking right. They hate the West. They hate white people. They hate Western culture. They hate America. They hate Christianity. And whatever, and they're terrified of being called racist. That's it.
Do you think that this perspective that society has sort of adopted in the UK about white people being bad, do you think this was there was architecture to it? This was by design? That this was done? Or is this just a natural response to people being called racist? Because of course in the past there was more racism than there is today, and people always want to point to that racism as, you know, evidence of colonialism, evidence of whatever it is that happened in days past. But why in England do you think that narrative took hold so well?
Because I think, Joe, to your point, that this post-war plan for multiculturalism, I think they realized that it was by design. They've got a problem.
So part of it was probably infiltrating the universities and promoting these kind of ideas.
It's almost as if with the World Economic Forum there's this view that the Anglo-Saxon nations have commanded and dominated too much of the world's resources, and there's
haven't done enough.
almost like this misguided altruistic view that we should become more concerned with global welfare rather than the welfare of our own citizens.
Well, it's also that there's another component to this too, where it's like the destabilized countries around the world are destabilized as a result of European and American involvement. And as a result from that, you need to be punished by allowing their people, their refugees, into the country. So like the original sin is colonialism and other forms of imperialism, and then the atonement is allowing the infinity refugees, right? That's how it works. Do you want to go back to colonialism? Yes. We need to have more colonies. We need a lot more colonies.
Which I totally disagree with.
Well, there's also the you will own nothing and you will be happy.
This is your Klaus Schwab,
which is
palpable
hilarious.
Nonsense.
Someone would even say that out loud.
I know.
You will own nothing and you will be happy. Like
a bunch of nutballs.
Is this a part of an Orwell book? Because this doesn't seem like a real person would say something like that. Because who the fuck is going to listen to that? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, they dress like James Bond villains, and they look like it too. They're idiots. Here we go.
Can I pause you for a second? So what you think is that the multicultural invasion, the way it was set up, was on purpose, and it was on purpose to sort of diminish the idea of nationalism?
Yes. I think that well, I'm...
Fucking exactly. Yep.
So this was like a long plan. So this was something that...
And remember how he said the other clip, post-war. What war is he talking about? World War II. This is exactly what I've been saying.
They must have had to sit down and like, who would be involved in this sort of a discussion where you would be willing to diminish patriotism, diminish this idea that
World War XI,
Britain by itself is exceptional and the people are exceptional?
It was a long, deceitful plan. So I always say...
Who implemented it?
The European elites in league with our elite, who effectively, if you remember, in 1975, we had we joined what was called the European Economic Community. It wasn't effectively anything other than an economic union. But that very quickly changed, and effectively they tried to politically integrate Europe. That failed, and then in 97, they tried to force it through with...
The Jews? Everybody says it's the Jews. It's the Jews. Guys, if there were no Jews on the world at all, period, you'd still have these problems. You are falling for a subversion in order to compartmentalize your anger and not have it accurately accounted to the right people. You are being misdirected to being only mad at the Jews. The Jews did not do this alone. Even if you think the Jews did this, they were not alone in doing this. You need to look at this holistically.
The introduction of the euro. So having failed politically, they tried to do it financially. That was my first... This is the biggest weakness right now on the internet for right-wing people and any conservative person, is that there is this fixation around blaming everything on the Jews rather than looking at any other factors that could have also caused it as well. And I think that this was deliberately given to, I think, right-wing people as a way to poison the well in the same way that identity politics poisoned the well for left-wing politics to prevent them from having any class solidarity. I think that we're being poison-pilled with this. It's a red herring. Yes, obviously, there can be an issue of Jewish supremacy. There could be an issue of Israel, involvement and Israel bad behavior and the Rothschilds. Like, all of these things can be true, but that's not the whole story. Foray into standing as a member of parliament to fight to save the British pound, because once you lose your currency, effectively you lose your sovereignty and your national identity.
Yeah.
And our gold reserves were going to be shipped out to Germany, to Frankfurt. And we would have become a vassal state, part of the European Union. It would have been irreversible. But in the event, thanks to Sir James Goldsmith, we secured enough votes. We forced the establishment to promise a referendum before they surrendered to the euro.
Jesus. And it's like saying black crime isn't a problem because other races commit crime. Well, saying that, for example, like you have, like, for example, like, let me give you another parallel that's, I think, better. The reason why we have so many crimes right now is because the police aren't solving the problem. So if every single time that I said that, okay, well, you know, we have so many problems with crime nowadays, and everybody in chat is like, oh, I know what to do. It's just all the black people. If we didn't have any black people, there wouldn't be any crime. Number one, no, that's not true. And even if there is a disproportionate amount of them, it's still not all of it. It's the people that are causing this to happen, period. That's, I think, the other comparison. Does that make sense? It's the judges. Yeah, it's the judges. It's the politicians. It's everything. And if you're just blaming one group of people, it's reductive. It's reductive, and it's deliberately reductive because the ideology and that fixation is designed with the intent of disarming you. It is intentionally disarming and limiting your awareness of this problem, and it is by design and made by your enemies. The people that are also saying that it's the Jews in Israel that did everything want to flood your country with people that will ethnically replace you and vote on ethnic blocks. It's the exact same thing.
Britain's in bad shape, and
yeah, and that's why you're here. And this is what we're talking about.
Well, the rape gang we've done. This is we've crowdfunded this.
Okay.
Which I'm very happy to talk to you about. Which I think
just this title of that rape gang report.
Yeah.
The idea that there's actual rape gangs in the UK in 2026, and is it being ignored? Is it being downplayed? How is it being received by the media and by the politicians?
Joe Rogan does a really good job of, like, he knows what the answer to this is, but he does a good job of baiting out these questions.
Over there.
Well, the history of it is that basically, as you probably know, Britain, after the war, decided they were going to play a part in Europe, a bigger part in Europe. Well, our elite did, the British elite. And to do that, they had to basically diminish the power of the nation state, and they had to head towards this European superstate, which is the EU, the genesis of which was obviously a monopoly.
Why did they have to diminish the power of the nation to do that?
Because I think Britain was a proud nation state. We with the American help, we'd won the war, and we hadn't been invaded or conquered, which most of Europe had been. So you'd had mass dislocation in Europe. Huge numbers of people had been dislocated and pushed all over Europe. And I think the socialists, I was in the European Parliament, so I spent a brief time as an MEP, a member of the European Parliament, when we finally achieved, a kind of Brexit. We can talk about that, but it wasn't a proper Brexit. So I think the genesis of the rape gangs, going back to this, was the fact that multiculturalism was the order of the day. They wanted open borders. They wanted a multicultural society. They basically felt the nation state had been the cause of world wars, effectively starting with Napoleon. Then obviously we had the Kaiser, then we had Hitler. And I think they saw it that way, the Monnets, the Spinellis, and the people who constructed the European Union. So you
can see the logic, right? Is that, like, you know, you have a very, very strong nation state, it's hard to control, and it can cause a lot of problems. So we'll nerf everybody.
Rape gang report, which was your question, ultimately, the genesis of that is this multicultural invasion almost of Europe.
It's trying to turn England into Jerusalem? Well, I think it's more than that, right? It's a lot more than that. Let me pull up some more of the clips on this, too. I don't know if there's any more of this. It's a 2-hour episode. Oh, my God. That's a long one. I'm not going to watch the entire thing. I'll probably just be watching clips and highlights of it over the next few days. I'll find the other ones, too. Give me 1 second. I just wanted to see if they had any highlights that were done anyway. Okay, there it is. If you want to check out I missed anything, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll go through it. Thank you. Yeah, I want to make sure I find these and I don't miss any of them. Okay, here we go.
But, you know, our woke culture is not protecting the interests of the British people.
And it's also a massive incentive. If you live in a terribly poor country and you can just get to England, and then instantaneously you will get money and housing.
Yeah.
That's right.
Why would you not do that?
Everybody would do that.
Well, not only that.
I don't even blame the immigrants for doing that. I don't. Like, whenever it's the same with the illegals here in America. Like, I know that we have illegals here, and, like, I don't have any animosity towards the illegals. I don't have any animosity towards the Haitians. I don't have any animosity towards, even a lot of the Somalians in Minnesota. Like, they're simply just following their own best interests. Like, I have animosity towards them to the extent that they are committing crimes. But, like, if they're just coming here, like, no, look, guys. If you're in Peru, you want to go to America. If you're in Colombia, your dream is to get to America. For many of these people, it is their dream. I understand that they want to be here. If I was in Colombia, that's what I would want to do. Peru is fine. Is it really? I guess maybe I'm off. But anyway, like, incentives drive behavior. Okay. Well, what I'm saying is that I don't think these people are profoundly evil. They're just simply trying to seek a life that's better than what they have. The problem is that we can't give that to everybody in the world. We don't have that many resources in the world to do that with. So we have to piecemeal and decide, who do we give these opportunities to and who do we withhold them from? And fundamentally, the first decision there is, are you a citizen in the country or not? That's it. Because you have to pick winners and losers. Everybody can't be a winner. That's just not the way it works. Does that make sense? So, like, I don't hold animosity towards them for acting in their best interest. I hold animosity towards our people for acting against our best interest. So import more? And no, I don't give a fuck about them. I don't know. They want to cut each other up in Haiti? Go ahead. It's not my problem. It's sad. I hope they stop, but I don't want to deal with it. Do it over there. Get the fuck out of here. I don't hate you. I just don't want you here. There's plenty of people I don't hate. I wouldn't want them living in my house. Doesn't mean I hate them. If somebody was camped out in my backyard with a tent, I would say, hey, you've got to go. Oh, what, do you hate me? No, I just don't want you in my backyard with a tent out. Like, get the hell out. It's really simple.
You go to the top of the waiting list for dental treatment, which...
I'm confused on your stance on leftists versus immigrants. Self-interest versus treachery. The leftists are traitors. The immigrants are just simply, they have no obligation to America. They have no obligation or allegiance to us. So whenever they act in their own best interest, I don't hold it against them because they have no obligation to us in the first place.
Lists for dental treatment, which British people don't get. The NHS.
What?
British people don't get dental treatment. I didn't say it.
The top of the waiting
Wait a
list.
minute. They get access to dental treatment that the British people don't get?
Correct.
Why? Why do immigrants get access to it?
Well, this, Joe, is the mystery of...
This is the mystery.
What our leaders, I don't know what they think they're doing, but they have this misguided view that these people are... Actually, they call them asylum seekers. They say they need to be looked after and protected. They're not. They're economic migrants. And to your point,
even if they are asylum seekers, I think that we need to move past the position that somebody that is seeking asylum, that gives them, like, you now have this obligation to take them in and take care of them. I think that in a lot of cases that can make sense. So, like, a really great example of this is Poland and Ukraine. Because Polish people and Ukrainian people can get along a lot better than, I would say, people from Zimbabwe or I don't know, Somalia and the British people, right? There's a degree of similarity there, and there absolutely is an immigration tier list. There is, and everybody knows it. And there are certain countries that you want more immigrants from, and other countries that you want as few immigrants from as possible, right? Except for the big exceptions. That's the way it is. Canada versus Mexico to the USA. I honestly, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, yeah, I would say Canada is culturally a lot more similar to America than Mexico is, just based off of ethnic and also, I mean, I guess religious. They're pretty much, I guess they're very Catholic. I guess, like, down here we're Catholic, but, like, in general, like, yeah, it's closer, kind of, but not a whole lot more.
know there's welfare when they reach Britain. They'll travel across multiple safe countries to get to the welfare, the free housing,
of course,
and all the other stuff.
Yeah, I definitely do that. That's smart. There's brothers, mad tensions over Ukrainian migrants in Poland already. Taking people from Africa would be insane. Yeah, I know. I know. Like, and taking in migrants and refugees will always create problems. But there is like, here's the reality, right? Is that I think that Western civilization and Western culture, that I would say Ukraine is at least a tangential part of, I think that we have an obligation to each other to help continue our existence. That means that I want to see America helping Canada. I want to see Canada helping Australia. I want to see Australia helping Britain. I want to see France helping Portugal. I want to see Spain helping Germany. I want to see Germany helping Poland. I want to see that happening. And I think that to a broader extent, right? Like, and these are spheres of like kind of like influence, right? We should also be trying to help out people in Turkey if we can, or Venezuela, or Japan. Like, because these are people that are not, directly Western culture, but these are still people that we know and we deal with all the time. And so we need to help them. So all whites? Yeah, generally, I would say most of Western culture is white, for sure. I mean, Spain is like, Spanish is kind of not white, but, it's, I think, definitely Western culture. It's the conquistadors. So it depends on how you'd want to define it. But I have no interest in you redefining this argument as something that's racist and then categorically assigning it a negative value because you think that I'm not allowed to say something that way. That's exactly what I think. That's exactly where I'm at. Yeah, overwhelmingly, that's the case. Obviously, and everybody knows it. We all know this. I don't care what your deliberate misunderstandings are. It's not important to me. Spain is white, bro. I don't, you know who agrees with you, by the way? The Aryan Brotherhood. I had a friend of mine, and he's not Mexican, he's Spanish. And he went with them. He did. He had to go with them. He wasn't allowed in the Mexican gangs. Yep. That's crazy. I would have never expected that. They share 75% Y DNA? I didn't even know that. Anyway, let's keep going.
Rape gang inquiry report that you have just released, the number, I want you to say it because it sounds so crazy. If I say it, it's going to sound wrong. What the number of people that were victims, the estimate?
Well, we've estimated that a minimum of 250,000 rapes have taken place. It's probably much more, Joe. Because we published in here, I think it's a list of 140.
Well, there's also like a huge spectrum, right? I think that a lot of women were sexually harassed. Like, you think about, like, I mean, this is just, I mean, I don't want to make this like too graphic, right? But like, sexual harassment, sexual assault, and then rape, right? I think this is the reality. Is that like these are concentric circles. And so, like, the amount of actual rapes are there, sure, right? One is too many. Well, yeah, because it's an unforced error. They shouldn't be in the country. That's true.
7 parts of the UK where this is happening. Now, the government tries to tell you it's happening in Rochdale, Oldham, 1 or 2 Bradford, 1 or 2 centres, and that's why their statutory inquiry, the terms of reference of that, have now been downgraded. So they make it look as if it's not a systemic problem, but just a little local problem, which it isn't. So we've listed here, and they're all in here, the places where we know it's happening from our rape gang inquiry. But every time we publish this, Joe, I get people emailing us or sending us messages on social media to say, what about Red Ruth in Cornwall? What about, it's happening here, it's happening here, it's happening here. So I think it's...
it's the tip of the iceberg.
Incredibly widespread.
Yeah.
And there's other people who've corroborated that 250,000 figure. That's an incredibly conservative figure. You can't be exact because the state is not collecting the data. which it should be doing.
It's deliberately not collecting the data, and the data that it is collecting, it's obscuring by creating, like assignments like Asian. Whenever they're saying Asian, they're talking about Pakistanis, right? But like realistically, I think that if you say Asian, is it really an accurate categorization to include Koreans and Japanese people inside of the same racial distinction of Indians and Pakistanis? Absolutely fucking not. So you then ask yourself, why are they casting with such a wide net? Well, unironically, it's to damage the reputations of Korean and Japanese and Chinese immigrants to damage their reputation, and then to launder that good reputation through the Pakistani and the Indian gangs and Afghanistan, because there are absolutely differences here. There are, and everybody knows this. We all know this. Pakistanis and Indians are Middle Eastern? No. What I'm saying is that it's the framing that they do with it. Opposite, it's to diffuse the damage to reputation of Pakistanis. Did I miss? I think that people know what I'm trying to say, but yes.
And we've been lobbying in Parliament to make sure that the state's collection of the data improves. And then we can actually see the extent of the problem, and you can actually pinpoint it in the same way that we've done it in this report. So this is, I think it's linked to organized crime. I think it's linked to the drug trade. I'm pretty sure it's linked to the drug trade, and obviously it's linked to prostitution. So as usual, with an evil like this, and you've got girls who are transported around in the back of pickups and in cages, and at our rape gang inquiry, we had examples of girls who were raped by dogs.
Indian and Pakistani are absolutely not Middle Eastern. Don't lump us in with them. Okay, bro. Look, I'm not trying to put you in any kind of a situation, all right?
Dogs and filmed, either anally raped or vaginally raped, and literally watched, filmed, and a lot.
I don't know. And Asia's really big to be a single racial profiling group. Yeah, so then think about why they're doing it.
The Southport killings, where this chap, Axel Rudakabana, went and knifed 3 young girls and killed them.
Not a good thing.
Despite the fact that the British state, through Prevent, was aware of this.
Really bad.
And we've had a similar case recently with Henry Novak, where, again, it was actually, I think on this occasion, a Sikh, stabbed him.
It was.
And the police, despite the fact when they arrived at the scene, he told them he'd been stabbed. The police didn't believe him, and they tried to handcuff him. And as a result of that, it's arguable that they opened up the wound, the stab wound, and he drowned in his own blood. Meanwhile, his murderer was never handcuffed. So this is where the British state's gone completely wrong.
And all of that is accurate. And we looked at all of that. We saw it before. And let me see if there's any more of these to look at too. And okay, we'll go and this is a big long one. I'll probably look at that one tomorrow. I'll look at one more of these clips, and then after that, I want to look at some of the other comments too, right? And okay.
One of which, the biggest of which, was probably under Boris Johnson, who was actually a conservative prime minister, who allowed
he was like the Timu Trump. At least he looked like it.
Thousands, hundreds of thousands of people to come into Britain, and basically they are now a burden to the British taxpayer. So the answer to your question is they're arriving illegally still, they're living here illegally, or living in Britain illegally still. We've got foreign criminals in our prisons, and we've still got the legacy of this huge amount of immigration which took place.
And are a large percentage of these people receiving welfare from the British government?
Yes.
What percentage?
You're paying them to come over and rape your people and stab them. Oh my God, how cucked can you be? It's crazy.
Well, most of the people who arrive, they're all supported, Joe. I mean, they're put in hotels.
Immediately, as soon as you get there?
In Parliament, I see the contracts. Thanks to my parliamentary questions, I'm allowed to ask questions and scrutinise the contracts for instance, the Bibi Stockholm was a boat which cost the British taxpayer 1.5.
Boris was in the same class at school as Osama bin Laden. Yeah, I mean, Osama was our boy until he crashed out. Like, that was our guy. Like, it was, yeah, we were good with him. And then he just fucking, you know, like, that's just what happens. Yeah.
£1 billion. It's actually now lying redundant and not being used. But I've seen the contracts
like anime,
for
like basketball?
These illegal migrants in terms of the laundry services they get, in terms of the taxi services they get, in terms of the food they require. I mean, literally, it is like it's like staying in a very comfortable hotel. And we've now got these people being settled all across our country.
Imagine putting these people in hotels and then other people can't afford houses.
How many?
In hotels. Well, I don't think the government knows, Joe. To answer your question,
the answer is yes. How many people in hotels? Yes. And okay, all right. This is one more. Him talking about Elon.
And I think, to your point, Elon Musk has been, to my mind, incredibly helpful in.
Elon Musk has been crucial. I think that he was the one that turned the key that opened the door to free speech again. I think that if Elon hadn't bought Twitter, I say this a lot, if Elon hadn't bought Twitter, we would be living in a very different world right now. And regardless of how you feel about his opinions on X, Y, or Z, regardless of whether you liked his builds in Path of Exile, regardless of whether he made a good build with Elden Ring, I don't think he did, by the way, but that's the way it is. Regardless of any of that, I don't give a shit. Because buying Twitter means more than any of that. Even Elden Ring. I know.
Restoring free speech. Because Starmer and these Fabian Pabloist Haldane Society, as I call them, they're sort of they've all got this malign philosophy, and I think what giving us free speech has done is it's stopped them crushing the spirit of those people who do want to debate, who do want to discuss, who do want to get at the truth.
Right, but they've done so much to stop free speech with all these arrests.
It's extraordinary.
Because they've incentivized people.
They arrest more people for freedom of speech violations in the UK than they do in China. Obviously, I think that the data is kind of flawed with that, but simultaneously, it is a pretty bad point of reference, isn't it?
To keep their mouth shut because no one wants to be in trouble.
Well, it's two-tier policing. You've got, to your point about, that the Palestinian marches are tolerated, whereas any form of Tommy Robinson
what was it
march,
like
and
before
Tommy
Elon
Robinson
Musk?
in the UK, he's deeply disliked by the establishment. I give him credit for what he did. Again, on the grooming gangs in 2003, he was...
Yeah, Tommy Robinson walked so other people could run. And beyond that, he experienced, like, Tommy Robinson in a lot of ways has similarities to Nick Fuentes, where he was one of the earlier guys out there that was really kind of shouting from the rooftops and doing this despite the censorship. And I think that him doing that and Nick doing that too, like, you couldn't have had the amount of discourse that we have now without guys like Tommy Robinson and Nick that were out there that were willing to put it on the table and risk their platforms by saying this stuff. And I respect that as somebody who would not do that. Like, I view my role as different. I don't want to risk my platform by saying something. I usually play things pretty close to the belt, but people like them haven't, and I respect that tremendously. And that in a big way, if it wasn't for them doing what they did, I wouldn't be able to do what I do.
Warning about this in 2003 in Luton.
Not only that, I remember people dismissing that in 2003 or 4, whenever it was when I first heard about it, they were talking about him as he was just horrible far-right extremist.
I know.
And that he was making up these stories about these grooming gangs and rape gangs. I remember hearing that. I remember not knowing, like, what is it? What's accurate here? Like, what's going on?
Well, I think the accuracy is that he was
basically like so this is. Let me finish the clip.
The establishment didn't want to admit it because if we're right, well, I think we are right about their multicultural post-war experiment. They realized it was failing.
Yeah, it obviously is failing. That's the reason why I have to shut down all of the discourse around it. So, like, in a perspective of this is like, if I was hyper-based and I said exactly what I think about every issue, and I, was like, I didn't edit anything out, and I said things that would get me banned, you wouldn't have had a 1 million plus view video of me reading the rape report in front of all of those people. You wouldn't have had that. So I think that in a position that I'm in, I try to take a slightly more mainstream position. And there are people that are more mainstream than I am. Like people like Piers Morgan, I would say, is also mainstream to that extent. Now, his opinions borderline on being disagreeing with mine. But fundamentally, I think that he has the best interests of Western society in mind, even though he says stupid things a lot of times. But it's about trajectory, right? And I think that, like, let me think of other people. Like Elon is kind of the same thing, right? Elon can't say some of the things that I say. He could, obviously, he could say these things, but it has a different cost because of his position in the world, right? And in media. And I think that everybody has a unique position. And in my position, I think that I'm kind of in there in the middle, right? Whereas I kind of talk about some things that are a little bit more taboo, but I also don't completely alienate mainstream perspectives either. And I think that that's a good thing. Why are you mad at Tucker? Because I think that Tucker has used his dislike to Israel to align himself with other foreign forces that are also oppositional to America. But because they are oppositional to Israel, he views them as being aligned with him. And I think it's a misunderstanding. Tucker Carlson is another great example of somebody who, like I like Tucker, right? I like Tucker, but I think that right now he's drank a little bit of the a little bit too much of the third world Kool-Aid, right? Check your subreddit. I will. Let me look at my subreddit. I want to go through everything because I honestly, I haven't even gotten through everything on here, but I just have to move on at a certain point, right? So, yeah, Tucker's a schizo farmer. Yeah, I think so, too. It's more important to get the message out in the long run, not short-term points. Well, it's important to have, like, it's the same thing as in, like, a football team, right? You want to have a quarterback. You need to have a goalie in soccer. You need to have people that are catching the ball, people that are defending the quarterback. Like, there's a position that everybody has to play. And I think that ultimately understanding what position that you're in and then acting in accordance of that is the best thing that you can do, and not trying to exist outside of that spectrum. That's the reason why, for example, I think that, again, like I think that Hassan does damage to a lot of liberal causes because he puts his extremism into mainstream positions. And I think that in doing so, you poison the well for average people. I recognize that some of the things that I say and do are extremist. And I think that they are not, at least not yet, they're not accepted by the public. And so because of that, I don't put myself in positions where I could compromise a public initiative that needs a broader mainstream support in order to boost my own profile. It's not important for me to boost my own profile. It's important for me to do what's in my best interest and what's in the best interest of the long term. Does that make sense? Like the death sentence? Yeah. Like, I don't think that a lot of people, like, that's a great example. Like, my opinion on, I think that having more policing is something that's very moderate that a lot of people could get behind, but I don't think that people get behind my perspective on public executions. So I recognize that, like, okay, that's the divide. And that's it. Maybe some extremist positions, but not wrong. Well, I think that for extreme problems, you have to have extreme solutions.